had a mentor growing up. He taught me the importance of hard work and dedication, picking something and sticking to it. So I can remember him calling me 12:30 sometimes after midnight to come in and sit with him and watch film and run up and down the hallways. So I had great people around me who wanted the best for me. So when I started in high school and I was running well, I actually trained at school. Then I would leave school and go to another training, and then sometimes have 3 trainings in one week.
Dr. Julie.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm great.
I'm doing pretty good too. Thanks for asking. So let me ask you a question. If you had the chance to interview a world champion sprinter, a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, would you do it?
Without a doubt.
Yeah. What do you think he would have to offer to our type of audience?
Determination, grit, overcoming obstacles.
Dang right.
I think there's a whole ton of information.
Yep. So we have the absolute pleasure, Dr. Julie, of interviewing Mr. LaShawn Merritt today, Olympic gold medalist. This is going to be an absolute awesome podcast. I hope you all absolutely love this. The title of today's podcast is Gold Medal Aptitude. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Prime Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Skip Wyss, and I have got the amazing Dr. Julie Wyss with me today, Dr. Fairy Fingers. It's nice to have you here, BDC certified coach. And we have an amazing guest coming at you right here. It's LaShawn Merritt, the Olympic champion, world champion sprinter. LaShawn, it is so incredibly awesome to have you on here. I know that you are in what is, I would consider, a new phase of your career. Retired sprinter, past Olympic athlete, past Olympic champion, world champion in the 400, world champion in the men's relay as well. Just an incredible rap sheet of gold medals. I don't even know how you hold your neck up. Like it's. But we had the pleasure of getting to know you over this last week down with the Black Diamond Club at Marketing Matters, and I took the chance on trying to get a chance to do an interview with you because I knew that your background and story would be absolutely incredible. And to my left is Dr. Julie, and she absolutely fell in love with you when you were on stage talking. It's incredible to have you on, LaShawn. Thank you for coming on.
Dr. Skip and Dr. Julie, it's a pleasure to be up here with you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So let's dive right into it. So sprinter, LaShawn, how did you really get into sprinting? Like what made you want to get into running your life for a time?
When I was younger, growing up, grade school, I played baseball and football, but I was always the fastest in those sports. But I would also race my 5-year-old. He's 5 years older than me. My brother, I would remember always racing his friends. I don't know why. I even have film that I found later on in years of me walking around wanting to race people. So it must have been a thing where I was the fastest at my age. I didn't know about track and field at the time. So the organized sports I was in was baseball and football. And in baseball, I was always stealing bases. In football, I was always open because or I played running back, so I was always scoring. And I didn't find out until high school about the sport of track and field. And at that time, I still didn't run the 400. I ran the 100 and the 200. And it wasn't until my junior year when my track coach, who was also my football coach, needed somebody to run the 400 for points at a track meet. And me being who I am, I said, you know what, I'll do it. And I've been doing it ever since.
I love that. Awesome. Now, Dr. Julie, you were a long distance runner in high school. You'll probably make LaShawn's stomach quease knowing the miles that you put on your body. Yes. Say, man, LaShawn, what made you want to sprint? What made you want to run? What made you want to do it competitively at such a high level?
You know what? I had people around me letting me know how much better I could be if I took it serious and actually studied the craft. Mm-hmm. And I had a mentor growing up. He taught me the importance of hard work and dedication and picking something and sticking to it. So when I started in high school and I was running well, I actually trained at school. Then I would leave school and go to another training, and then sometimes have 3 trainings in one day. It was weird. I would because we didn't have a track at our school. It's like asphalt. So I would run around the school, inside the school, leave school, go to an AAU practice, leave there, and then sometimes meet my coach at, this might sound crazy, but he worked at a TV station overnight. So I can remember him calling me 12:30 sometimes after midnight to come in and sit with him and watch film and run up and down the hallways. So I had great people around me who wanted the best for me. And I was very coachable. I have great body awareness. And it was a sport where it's an individual sport. So there's a lot of accountability in that sport. And my character uh, exudes accountability. I like I said, I took it serious. I trained hard. I was winning, and I just was all about learning how to get better, how to get faster, mentally, physically, spiritually, and it allowed me to get a full scholarship, which I was proud of because my parents had taken care of me all my life.
Okay.
So at least I can do is go to school for free. So, right. So I got full scholarship, and my freshman year, I ended up competing in an event where everybody was pro athletes, and I was the only freshman, the only collegiate, and I won. And 2 months later, I'm sorry, Nike called me and signed me to a Nike contract. They told me they would sign me to a Nike deal if I gave up my college eligibility, but they would continue to pay for whatever college I wanted to go to. So,
oh, wow.
Right then, I became a grown man at 18 in a career where I had to either take it serious or continue to lose. So
Yeah.
I kept people around me, and we kept getting better.
Now, you had made a comment on stage that it was different when you went to run because you were running against grown men running to feed their families.
Right.
And there's a different type of determination, grit, just sheer tenacity, intestinal fortitude. And where did you find that grit and determination to beat those men that were running to feed their children? Because, man, like, you're going to you're going to try the hardest you can to take care of your kids. What did you do? Where did you find that deep down desire to push?
You know what? I think I found it in just wanting to get better every day within myself. It was always a thing where when I would say lose, but when I say lose, I'm talking 3rd and 4th place.
Silver medal, not
right.
gold.
I was like, what's losing? LaShawn, I'd just be happy if I completed the race.
Right. But I trained to win. I trained to be competitive within myself. And track and field is a sport where the more you learn about your body, the more you learn about yourself, the more you learn about the sport, the better you'll get. And I had the DNA and the character to match it. So when it came to a point, I was 18 and I was running against 25, 28, 30-year-olds, and I'm getting told, that's okay, you're still young, you'll get them next year. That bothered me a little bit because every day I went in training, it was with intention to become better and be the best. So, but I guess it was just only a matter of time.
Well, what do you think, Dr. Julie?
I was gonna say, you touched upon, like, when you're talking about, like, how you've been able to be so successful is that we do these podcasts every week, and every person that we interview is success in whatever realm that they work in, that they live in, entrepreneur. And the resounding theme is that they have relationships and they have other people that support them, believe in them. And it's kind of like BDC being in the room, right? So you surround yourselves with the people that you want to be associated with and who are going to lift you up. So like when you said that and accountability and that you're coachable, that's like that step of, if somebody can be coachable, then I think anything is quite possible if they are open to somebody else guiding them and leading them.
Well, dude, if I got a phone call at 2:30 and 12:30 in the morning to go into my high school and watch game film of me sprinting in a unitard and then him analyze how I'm running, Like, I mean, that's serious
That
stuff.
was
Now,
serious.
the other side of it is, LaShawn, is I'm sure you've been asked questions like, hey, LaShawn, what was it like to win your first gold medal? What was it like to win world championships? I want to know what it was like when you lost, what it was like when you had failure, because LaShawn, David Meltzer talks about this. Sean Dill talks about this. Hell, we talk about this. Failure is not an option. Failure is actually mandatory to get success.
It's a
In
secret
order to have
ingredient.
success, you need to fail. So what was it like the first time you failed? What happened?
You know, failure is the secret ingredient to success. You know, you have to go through these things. The lessons that's taught and the failures are the lessons that propel you. And I failed a lot. I can remember in 2012. 2012 was an Olympic year. I had an undefeated season up until 3 weeks before the Olympic Games. I was in Monte Carlo and I pulled a hamstring.
Yeah.
I was on my way to be the second 400-meter runner ever to win gold in the 400, the two Olympics back to back. And I was feeling so good. I remember I was in Monte Carlo, the only competition that year that I didn't bring my chiropractor. I got up in the top of the curve. I had 150 meters left, and I felt a cramp. I felt a little bit before I went in that my balance was a little off, but I believed in my training and everything. And that race, it was a tough one. It was a tough one because I was picked to win. I was number one in the world, and when that happened, I knew that it wasn't the end of my career. Well, I didn't know that. Let me take that back. I didn't know that. I didn't know what was wrong, honestly. I didn't know if I had just caught a cramp or if something was wrong. But I did end up having a hamstring pull. And it goes back to me keeping great people around me. The people around me told me, hey, this is what we need to do. Calm yourself down. Keep your mind right, because we understand how important the mind can take over the body and just affect the whole body. I kept my mind right. I got right back on track, went to see my therapist, got chiropractic care, and I realized that I was grateful just to be able to run and make it to that point. Me being a guy who fall in love with the process, I was just ready to get back to work. I'm a process guy. I find happiness in my process. So when I compete and run against these guys and these Olympic Games and all over the world, I mean that's the pinnacle of the career. But I've always kept myself and my inner voice at like a 7 or 8, and that was just so I could do it again. You know, my thing was, okay, whatever happens when it's time to execute, I love the training. So within that, I was just ready to get back to training so I can get back to my full potential and be happy in training every day.
So go ahead, Dr. Julie.
I was just going to ask, right? So the people that we interview and this interview, these podcasts go out to families, they go out to business owners, chiropractors, service people. And you had mentioned that like part of that failure was having like the weight of everybody expecting for you to win. Can you just share, like, because that's just not a little bit of pressure, that's a lot of pressure, right? If we're talking Olympic level.
Right.
So how, like sometimes if we're talking parents, if we're talking moms, right? Sometimes just getting through a day with our kids and staying on top of things and getting everything and making it look like super pretty and we're on top. How do you, or what piece of advice would you have to our listeners of being able to, right, track and field's an individual sport, of how you were able to kind of, maybe if that was shutting those voices out or being able to do that for you and to know that your supporters are going to support you no matter what?
Yeah, that's it. Started with me having the right circle up front.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had the right circle up front. My parents, neither one of my parents were athletes. All my life, they've always told me to go have fun. So if my parents are not pressuring me, I didn't let anybody else pressure me. You know, to this day, my mom would still tell me, all right, go have fun. I can hear it just like I was 6 years old running out on the baseball field. So I had the weight of the world on my shoulders. I even had the weight of Nike, who I mean, at these games, I was one of the athletes that if I didn't get top 3 in the world, I got cut, contract got cut. So I'm not just an athlete. I'm
Whoa.
expected to be the top 3 in the world every year. So that's a lot of pressure from the outside, but the inside, the way I grew up, um, and the way I carry myself, I don't let myself get too overwhelmed. You know, I have a great inner voice, and I think it comes from my home training, but also in the sport of track and field. Like I said, being an individual sport, there's a lot of times where you're left alone. You're on the other side of the track. You're tired. Out of 100%, you're probably at 40% that you feel, but in 30 seconds, your coach is going to require you to get up and give the exact same effort that you gave on that last race, that last run, if you're having interval work. So I've talked to myself a lot in times where no one else was around and I felt down. And it goes back to me being grateful for whatever and wherever I am, having great parents, and understanding that uh, this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm. You know, you talk about parents and you talk about being alone at times. And so LaShawn, whose voice do you hear? Is it yours? You know, is it your parents? Is it your
Mm.
brother? Like, whose voice do you hear when you're feeling alone? That's like, hey, man, it's time to throw down. Let's go.
Mm.
Like,
Time to
what?
throw down.
Yeah, man. Where,
Like,
like, whose voice do you hear,
you know
LaShawn?
what? I believe I hear my mom's voice and my parents' voice from when I was younger. So my adolescent years, I did a lot of sports, a lot of activities, and I've always heard the same thing. Teams win, teams lose. If I do well or not, my mom would always embrace me. My dad and my brother would always embrace me with a hug and a smile. And as long as I was out there having fun and seeming happy. So I would hear that voice. I would also hear my brother's voice. My brother was 5 years older than me,
Mm-hmm.
big brother. He passed away. He got murdered before I started running track. He was in college his freshman year and got murdered. So he never got a chance to, I feel, to fulfill um, the years in his life.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started running the sport, it was something that it was sort of a drive for me of, okay, he's not here anymore. I looked up to him. I followed in his footsteps. He played baseball. I played baseball. He played the trumpet. I started playing trumpet in the 5th grade. He didn't run. He played football. I played football. So I followed in his footsteps, and the fact that he wasn't around anymore, is, like I said, gave me that drive to maximize whatever lane or potential or what people saw in me and what I knew I had. I had to maximize it, and I did isolate myself a lot, but I feel like I found greatness in that isolation. You know, the world can be full of so many distractions. I isolated, but I still kept family around me. When I was training, literally, I would communicate with probably 4 people in a day. That's it, for months and months and months, and I didn't mind it. Sometimes I could eat the same thing, salad with tuna every single day, and didn't mind it.
Just a
So
few.
it's something in that uh, that being able to do that over and over pull some greatness out of me, and the work when it gets to the time where I'm in let's just say I'm in I don't know, Morocco, and I'm standing there. And when I was younger, I was 18 years old in Morocco or Shanghai, from a small city in Virginia called Portsmouth. I'm thinking for a split second, it's like, what am I doing here?
Right?
Right? Like, why me? How did I get here? I didn't even
Mhm.
pay attention in history class. But now I'm all around the world. I'm almost finished with my second passport. But when I had those moments of what am I doing here, it quickly turned back to remembering the work that I've put in to get there.
Mhm.
When those butterflies come and I get a little nervous, that voice of my mom telling me, just go out and have fun. And the voice of my brother telling me, I'm here with you. You got this. You put in the work. You deserve to be here. I believe in you, so go and achieve it. And I had those voices talk to me a lot, and I contribute that inner voice of picking me up when things were down, um, not letting me ride the highs too high when they was high, keeping me humble, keeping me grounded. That's what it's about, and I strive to push that message in kids, in adults, in business, that things will happen. There's ups and downs, but you find out who you are and find out how to handle adversity, and tomorrow can be a brighter day.
Like I look at your track record, both metaphorically and real life. And I mean, the first place positions are ridiculous. You've had a couple seconds. You had a DNF at the Olympic Games in the UK there, which you talked about pulling your hamstring. But I come back to your brother, I come back to your mom and dad, and I'll tell you, man, like my parents had such an impact on my life.
Absolutely.
And positive, negative, everything that they told me, it rings true in my head. Like my mom, LaShawn, my mom always told me I could be anything I wanted.
Absolutely.
You know, my dad never told me I couldn't be.
Right.
You know, but the biggest thing is it's go out and have fun.
Absolutely.
And I believe that I've watched 30 for 30s. I've watched one of the greatest athletes to ever perform is Wayne Gretzky. And you could say Carl Lewis if you're in track. You could say, you can look at Michael Phelps in swimming. But bottom line is that they had fun when they were kids, and they had fun their entire life doing the sport, the game, the job that they signed up for. Because running for you, let's be honest, running's a job. When you have Nike saying you can't be less than number 3 in the world.
In the world.
3 in the world. You think about that. You were the best runner in the world for a stint in your career. Number 1. Everybody's chasing you. Everybody sees a target on their back, literally chasing you, and they're in your wake a lot of the times. But finding that inner drive, and the other side of this is embracing the process to get you there. Everything that leads up to you running, those 43, 45 seconds, I saw your times. Those 43 seconds. In fact, your personal best is 43.75, if I'm correct, or 43.74. Sorry, I don't want to. That 100th of that 10th of a second is important, man. But embracing the process.
Absolutely.
Loving the process, understanding that I'm sure at one point in your life you're eating that tuna salad and you're like, I don't mind it, but this is the fuel that I need to succeed and achieve the goal that I set out to do or be at, which is the world champion, number 1 in the world.
Absolutely. And it's such delayed gratification in the sport because I love the sport because it's similar to life where you can't have it anybody. It's just you. In business, you have to understand delayed gratification. And in the sport, on a regular season, we would start training in, let's just say November. We start in November. We have different phases of training, but I don't get to show anybody the work that I've done until May. So I'll start training in November, and my first competition won't be until May. And track and field is right. And it's also a sport where if you don't show up to training, you don't get fined. It's not like you have to football and basketball. So the accountability of you wanting to be better and show up every day, it matters. And I lived that for so long, from understanding how important the rest is. First, you have the delayed gratification in the regular season. Then you have the delayed gratification in the U.S. only really knowing the Olympics and track and field and Olympic Games every 4 years.
Yeah.
So then you have that, which the majority of the population asks me all the time, what do I do in the middle of those years?
You compete for world championships.
I still compete for world championships. Absolutely. So I understand the delayed gratification and the fine lines in the sport. You can be the best in the world for 4 years. If you're not on that day at Olympic trials, you don't make the team. They only take 3 athletes during the Olympic year for each discipline. And you have to be on that day and execute that day. You can't have a false start. If you false start, you're out. So you have to be perfect for 4 years. And you have Olympic trials in June, and then the Olympics may be 6 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of pressure.
So what did you think about that first part with LaShawn Merritt?
I'm just blown away.
I know it's incredible. Just wait till you guys hear part two. Part two is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait for you guys to hear it next week. LaShawn's going to be jumping into just spectacular motivation as to what motivates him with running, how he inspires kids, everything under the sun, and to embrace the challenges. So tune in next week. We'll see you all real soon. Have a great night. Bye, everyone.